Welcome to the Spotlight segment. This is a segment dedicated to interviews with developers or interesting happenings in the world of Android. And now for this week's episode, here's your Spotlight.
Let's move on to our Spotlight section. And I'm delighted to say we are joined by Eric Scheibler, who is the developer of WalkersGuide, which we've discussed and demonstrated on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. So welcome again, Eric. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into app development, particularly for blind people?
Yeah, of course. At first, I'm blind too, and so I wanted to get around in my city and especially in my surroundings. And with the smartphones, I started to use GPS more and more. And first, I got an iPhone in 2010 or something like this. And I was a bit disappointed with the solutions which were there at this time, especially the accessible ones for blind users. And about 2 years later, then Android came around with the accessibility. I thought maybe I try to develop my own. And I chose Android because Apple made it very difficult to develop apps for them. And so the project started, and at first I did some tests and for myself, didn't have in mind to publish anything or so. But then I thought, okay, it's working, especially the route planning feature. And so I thought, yes, let's bring it to other people, to the store, and so on. And that's about 10 years ago. And since then, the project is there and it's growing steadily. And yes, that's.
Hi, Eric. So I reached out to you, and I'm so thankful you joined us today. And I really like WalkersGuide. Of course, I've told you about some of the things that I would love to see, especially, and I think the one that stood out to me the most was the fact that I needed to keep the screen awake, right, or keep the screen alive while I'm navigating. And I know that you and I had talked about that, and that's probably one area that I'm looking forward to when you're able to get into it to make it work with the screen shut off. That would be a nice thing to see come to that app, because here's the deal. You're blind like us, and I'm really glad about that. I'm not glad that you're blind, but I'm glad that someone who feels the pain, knows where the hurting points are, knows what we need. And the WalkersGuide checks those boxes for me. So the only thing I'm looking for is that ability to have the screen shut off. And also, like I said in my email or in our conversation prior to you coming on here, is to be able to see where I could make that search right there from the home screen, without the need of going to the menu or the navigational drawer and choose to tap there to go search for the destination I'm going to. So really, I'm happy about it. But so you're going to help us explain some of the things in there, because in my demonstration, I didn't go into some of the details like I ought to. And so I'm glad that you are here with us today, and you'll help us explain some of those features better than what I did.
Yes, of course. Maybe one word on, let's call it feature requests in general. as I mentioned in my introduction, the project is more or less a one-person project, which I do in my free time. And as you can imagine, it's lots of stuff you have to do just to keep it working and to get the next updates. For example, you constantly have to do something to keep it on the Play Store because Google demands many things about the developers, and so it's basically my problem is I must say no to feature requests. It's a hard thing to do because I want to realize the features someone else requests because it's obviously important for this person. But if I would say yes to everything, I know that I never could come around to check all my to-do list points. And so it's yeah, some things I also want to have, and so they are definitely coming, like this screen off feature. Some other things are not as realistic as I would like they are, and so you basically you have to be patient to you it's just use it if you can, if it works for you, and of course do requests, do wishes, but don't be disappointed if it may take some time. And for example, this feature, it could take some months because it's complicated. The details are complicated to achieve, and so yeah, that's just to get these basics.
Yeah, that makes sense. Can you tell me a little bit about what you think sets your app apart from some of the other apps? So what's its unique selling point? You know, there are GPS apps on Android. I don't need you to criticize them particularly, but can you tell me what features you have? You know, you developed it for yourself, obviously. What gaps were you addressing that some of the other GPS apps didn't do?
Yeah, basically it's the routing feature. You can set your destination, and then it will route you from your current one or whatever you choose as a start point, and then route you to your destination. And it tries to do this in the most accessible way. Maybe some words about what most accessible means later. First, it's not the best person to compare other apps because, as I said 10 years ago, it was that all the other apps lacked route navigation at all. And then I started to implement my own solution. And after this, I didn't look back. So I can develop every feature I need, and so I never got around to look after whatever apps could do. And so I don't know, maybe today there are other apps which also can create a route and help you navigating it. But for example, of course, Google may offer this in Google Maps, and I know some apps for the blind which rely on this Google Maps feature. And my problem with Google Maps especially is that it's not as precise as I would like it to be as a blind user. For example, if you have an intersection, I think it's worth knowing which streets are connecting to this intersection in which angles. And this is something you won't get from a commercial app which doesn't specialize on the blind community. And so I think, yeah, this routing feature with the point for accessible routes is just the main selling point of this app. And to come back to this accessible, I try to route the user through smaller streets, through ways which are nice to walk, paved ways, and so on. And this is how I try to avoid, for example, bigger intersections, because it's often not the problem to walk along a big street, but then you come to the intersection, and especially as a passenger, you get the problem that you can't cross. Maybe there's traffic lights, okay, then it's fine if the traffic lights is accessible too, but often you have problems crossing. And so it's, in my opinion, it's much better to use smaller routes, to use ways without cars and so on. Yeah, that's basically my the point why I like my app, and I still use it and still develop it because in the first place I am my best user, if you follow me.
Let's talk about availability, because when you first brought it out, and especially when we got it on the Play Store, we were lacking some areas here, especially in the States. And I was surprised, though, when I contacted you about it. And in no time at all, you made the whole country available. And I'm surprised to the speed at which you were able to bring that about. Now, I know some people have asked a question. Is it possible to maybe download certain maps for offline use in the event that one wants to use it offline? I don't know. For me, I would use it while I'm online, but is it possible to find a way of downloading the map of a given area for offline use?
Okay, maybe some words on the data which my app is based on. My app is based on OpenStreetMap data, which is a free and open map and includes the whole world. And so if I have to, if one country is not already there, I just have to download the map for this country and make it available. Regarding your question of downloading it directly into the app, I must disappoint you. So it's basically a client-server architecture. That means you need a server which the app itself contacts, and the server does all the route calculation things. And so it's basically on the server where the map creation process started. And unfortunately, it's not possible, or it's very, very difficult to change this and put it all into the app. And therefore, you at least need an online connection for the route calculation process. You then, if the app has downloaded the route, then you can follow it perfectly without internet connection. But for the request itself, you have to be online to connect by server. And about the maps which are available, recently I upgraded my server, which is just in my basement, a very basic home server, and I upgraded the storage, and now I can provide all the maps of the whole world. So this problem which with map requests should be gone now, because everyone is able to just use the app and select the map which he's in. But as I rely on OpenStreetMap, it's unclear how good the map is in your area. So that's basically nothing I can do about if no one in your area tagged all the streets and points of interest and so on. The app can provide you with a very nice route. So basically, you have to try it and see what results you get, which route you have to take, and then you'll see if this works out for you.
So I think you said once you've kind of downloaded your route, that's fine, and it's on your phone, even though the map's on the server. If it needs to recalculate that route because you've gone wrong or somehow not done what the app said, would that need an online connection, or can it correct itself once it knows where you want to go?
No, that's the same thing all over again. You have to ask the server for another route. For you as the user, it's a recalculation, but for the server, it's just another request. So if you are stuck with this calculated route and you don't have an internet connection, then you can't do much about it.
Yeah, then you're stuck. Yeah, that's fine. That makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, that reminds me of the Google offline map. We were traveling to Yellowstone National Park, and of course, you don't have internet connectivity. So we started though with online access, and it was able to guide us through even when we lost connectivity. But like you said, if you veered off, then of course you're going to be tossed because you will need another internet connectivity in order to be able to get to that destination where you're going. So that totally makes sense to me.
I know. I don't know if it was an Android or not, but does anyone remember Navigon? I love Navigon. Lots of offline maps that you could download. It was very expensive, like literally the most expensive mainstream app I've ever bought on iOS, £40. But it would download gigabytes and gigabytes and gigabytes to your phone, take up most of it, but it would always do what you wanted.
And the problem why this is not possible is that in 2012 or 13, I couldn't do on the smartphone what I wanted to do, and so it just was the only way I could take it. Just install it on the server and then be done with the big data problems and so on. And then it's if you are established just this client server architecture and the app relies on the server, it would be so much work to redo this. So it's a feature I sometimes would like to, but that's something you then would have to use another app for this if you really use, or if you really need it much more often than, let's say, once a year or so. Of course, that depends on your location and the coverage of mobile data. but yeah, that's like it is.
And most apps don't do it anymore. Like Navigon doesn't exist. Like Google will let you download some stuff, but most GPS apps assume you'll be online. So I think you're entirely in line with how all of the other GPS apps work these days. Whereas 10, 15 years ago, maybe it was a little bit different. One of the things you said was that you wanted it to be a bit more precise than some of the other ones. But how did you make it more precise than some of the other ones?
To come back to the intersection problem, that was the first thing I wanted to be more precise about, and the advantage of open data like OpenStreetMap is you get all the raw data in the database. You can write your own scripts and do things with the data which other people didn't do because they don't need it, and so on. And a street is basically a list of points, and I just wanted to, okay, I defined that an intersection is if two streets have share a single point. And therefore I thought, okay, if I have this, then I can calculate all the rest. For example, these angles of the streets which are part of the intersection. And this, after I had this, I looked into what else can I get from OpenStreetMap. And you have lots and lots of attributes which are tagged with the way, with the street, like surface and where is the sidewalk, the width of the street, and all this kind of information. And of course, you don't need this every time you want to navigate to a point, but it might come in handy if you are not quite sure, is this the correct way you're on? You can check the surface and so on. It's just an offer. You get all the information which someone tagged, and then you can make of it what you want. But it's there if you need it.
So what might it say? I know we could possibly have done this through a demo outside, but what? So I'm walking along pulling Warren's Cheeks Street, and I'm coming to an intersection. What might it say?
If you are following the route, it will for the most time continue to tell you how far you are from the next intersection and in which direction the next intersection is. And then let's say you come near to this intersection, it will warn you that close by you enter this intersection, and it will tell you the name, just the name as it is, street 1, street 2, because often an intersection doesn't have a name by itself. And then, so okay, in about 30 meters or so, it comes the point where I have to cross or turn left or whatever. And if you then go ahead, it will bring you another announcement which tells you now you have to turn. Now you are on this point where you have to turn left. And if you want to get more information, you just have to look on the screen and see, for example, the layout of this intersection. But mostly it's let's say a standard 3 or 4 road intersection, and then it's maybe enough if you know now I have to cross.
There was a feature in there that I talked about in my demo, especially when I get home, for example, because oftentimes, people want to know, when I get home, let me know, here's a little beacon or something to that effect that lets me know, okay, now here's the entrance to that house, or here's the entrance or the gate to that compound, or whatever you want to call it. Or my driveway. And I think that's a feature that I saw in there that I like. You could record, this is my driveway or whatever. So it will let you know. And I really like that feature. I just wanted to mention that because sometimes people want that in their navigational app. So um, sometimes one could place a little beacon, maybe make a sound or whatever. But I like the fact that in this one, you could record actually what you wanted to say. So that's what I want to say. Thank you for.
And if I may, just a few words, maybe about how the layout in general of this app, just to don't jump right in and don't get the layout. It's basically a free tab layout. You have 3 tabs on the bottom, and the first one is, it's an overview tab. You start with this. I also could call it start or home or something like this. But it's you can start with this, and you see your current address. You are there, and then you also can pin points and routes. And this is related to what Warren said. You may pin, for example, your current location if you want to remember it and want to go to it later. And the idea of pinning something is just you come across some interesting POI, or you want to remember this position, and you need it later. You don't need it right now, but you need it later. And so it's just like a bookmark feature. You can on every screen you can call the context menu of, for example, a POI or a route, and then you can pin it, and then it's on your overview tab, and you always can come back to it later and maybe sort it back into another collection, or remove it because you don't need it anymore, or something like this. I previously or let's say this feature is rather new, because I in the past I had this problem that I constantly mislaid points I searched for, and then I couldn't find them again. And so I thought it's nice to have something like this to pin your points. And maybe another interesting thing in this overview tab is you at the top of the screen below this address bar, you have another tab layout. In the documentation I constantly call them sub-tabs, because I don't know a better name for this. It's just another way to structure the tab. You have the tab with this pin feature I mentioned, and then you have another sub tab with where you can follow points or POIs. For example, you would want to get updates when you are walking through your surroundings, and you want to know which shops are close by, or you're coming by. Then you could create a profile for all the shops, and then say go to this subtab, to this tracking subtab, and just say enable this tracking feature, and then you would get constant feedback while you are walking around. And the motivation for this was someone requested this. He wanted to navigate a planned route. He did this planning like I mentioned at the start, and got a route to his destination, but he also wanted to keep informed about what is about him. And of course, then he could have switched between the tabs, but this is an annoying thing, especially if you do it very often. And so the request was, could we not have a feature to inform me while I'm walking what's around me? And so that's basically these two different features come with this overview tab. And the other one, the middle tab, is for navigation, as we discussed before. And the rightmost tab is for the points of interest, where you can, for example, create a profile which tells you everything about the shops or public transport stops and so on. Basically, this is where you create the point profiles, which I referred to in the tracking feature. And I think that's it for now. It's, of course, it's not as easy as you might think to navigate or to get familiar with this app, because it's are many features in it. But I think if you know these, you have a good start.
Yeah, and that's why we have you on here to tell everyone about them. And one question about points of interest. I have a particular view on this, which I'll tell you in a minute. Can you share your points of interest? I'm not sure you should be able to, because I remember a GPS app on an operating system a long time ago, far, far away, where people would create points of interest and they could share them, and they put things like my house, which told nobody anything, and like they shared these points of interest saying like Ed's bus stop. I didn't actually do that, but so do you allow points of interest to be shared?
It depends how you define sharing. One thing you may do with every point is I think I call it share, because it does nothing else than you click on the share button, and then you get an URL for example, OpenStreetMap. And basically, it creates this URL, and then you can share this with other folks, for example, via Messenger, or however you like to share links. And it's nice, especially if you are if you want to meet with sighted folks. You then could share your location, and OpenStreetMap just shows a map in the browser, and then it's easy for other folks to find you on this map. That's basically the sharing feature, but I think it covers mostly what you, or at least what I need if I want to share it with others.
Yeah, no, that wasn't how share works on the other one, but that is how share
Yes,
should work, I think.
exactly. Because
What it was, people could
Mhm.
upload POIs to the database, labeled things like "my house," which just caused chaos on some apps a long time ago. But that was pre-OpenStreetMap, so we're talking a few years ago now. Yeah, that's a much better location sharing way to do it, I think.
Well, Eric, this has been fun having you on here. This has been really good. And you're looking forward to when you're able to do whatever you're able to. And especially with that search where I could just search anywhere, or at least in the overview there, I could just search for where I'm going. I think that would be great. But we really thank you for coming on to share with us, talk with us about Walker's Guide. I really like the app, and hoping people will also try it and see how they like it. Again, thank you so much for coming. And, when something monumental happens with the app, would you be willing to come back and chat with us again?
yes, of course, no
Good,
problem.
good. And then now I'm going to hold your feet down to the fire. Now you're going to come to our 4th anniversary on December 21, if you are able to. And we could, in the mix of things, we could also talk about Walker's Guide. How about that?
Okay, yes, sounds great.
Nice. And, get a little, eggnog or whatever you want to drink. I don't know.
Bit of Malteser. Or,
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, you're very, very welcome.